And it says we are live.
We're
Great.
live.
Hopefully this is all working fine. Right. So this is a Film Prompt Society live stream. We're going to be chatting with the wonderful Jay about making a feature film. Yes. And fingers crossed all the technical stuff is working. We're trying out a new streaming system, so there may be technical difficulties. It's all new. So hopefully it goes fine and there's no problems. It looks like, just checking on YouTube, that we are in fact live. Just like to double check that. So great.
I didn't dare check it in case I get that sound thing where I can't mute it and then it's there.
Yeah. Great. So might as well introduce ourselves. My name's Joolz. I'm a YouTube creator / short filmmaker. Make a lot of weird stuff. There'll be links to both of our YouTube places in the description of this video if you want to check us out. And Jay, I'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Jay. I'm a writer, singer-songwriter and filmmaker, and based in the northeast of the UK. But I grew up in Turkey, which is a valid point for this discussion, probably.
Great. So really this is just going to be a little chat about what it's like to make a feature-length film, taking on that huge project, and hopefully gaining some wisdom from your experiences.
Hopefully. I don't know if I've gained any wisdom from it. But yeah.
So I guess the first thing to say is, like, why did you decide to take on this huge project? What was the initial inspiration? And you know what, I'm going to make this a feature.
Yeah. Well, I read, so the film that we made is a musical, and it's the story of Ruth, which is actually a story from the Old Testament, and it's quite a romantic story. And I read it and I was just really moved by it. And I actually, go back a step, I wanted to make a musical first. That was it. I hadn't read the story yet, and I wanted to make a musical, and I went into the living room randomly when I was living with my mum and dad, and I said, I want to make a musical. What should I make it about? And my mum said, oh, the story of Ruth is a really nice one. So I went and read the story. That's why I read it. And then it really seemed to lend itself to the music. And it was just this lovely story of this woman sort of trusting God in the midst of being totally rejected from society and being left all alone. And it was just a lovely story. And I was living in Turkey at the time, and I was really inspired by Turkish traditional folk music. So I started writing the songs with the story in mind, and it kind of grew from there. And I don't know why I wanted to make it a feature film. I think it was just, I'd always loved feature films. So that was sort of how I saw it in my head as soon as I'd written it. That was what you asked, wasn't it? Why a feature film?
Yeah.
I got lost in what I was saying. Yeah. So I think because I'd watched things, you know, like The Sound of Music and all those great classics, it was just my way of wanting to present this story was in that format. Yeah.
So had you made a few like shorts and other things beforehand, and like
yeah,
sort of how did you get to the point where you were like, I can do this?
Yeah, it's quite interesting because I did make shorts, but I always thought before making a feature I'd have to make a short that won an award, or I'd have to make like a 20-minute film, and that I'd have to sort of prove my track record before making a feature. But it just didn't happen. Like I did win a couple of awards with short films, but nothing major. And I think, I can't remember who it was who said to me, if you don't make the film soon, you're never going to make it. Because I kept waiting for that moment where I'd be like, oh, I've done this, and now I'm good enough to do the film. And I think it was just that deciding that this was the film I actually wanted to make. And I think a lot of people say, you know, you have to do this, this, and this to get to there. But I don't think that's always the case. Like, I actually think that sometimes some people are better at making a feature film and can't make a short film. Me. Like, it's because it's like a different format, and it's really good to learn the skill of making a short film and telling a story well in that time. But I think making a feature suited me much better. I didn't feel the stress of trying to get it across in the same way. So yeah, I did a lot of documentary stuff as well, actually a lot of factual stuff, and music videos as well before making that, and went to lots of workshops and got into lots of courses and asked people lots of questions. Yeah,
That's very cool.
yeah.
So then I guess the next thing is when you decided that you were just going to make this, even if you didn't necessarily think that you'd hit the point when you were ready, where did you then begin to make that become a reality?
Yeah, so I think the first thing was the script. So I had to completely finish the script to the point, because it still went through development after that version, but I had to have a version to actually show people. So first did the script, and then it was a matter of Kevin and I deciding that we definitely wanted to do this, to make the film. And then we contacted somebody else who had made factual documentaries, and they had a distributor. And so we took the idea to him and said, this is what we want to do, and sort of asked for help. And he got us a meeting with some people he knew. And that's kind of how it began, because I think you do need sort of an in of somebody who's going to believe in it. And that's so we also did a package, so like a film package where you've got the synopsis and who you imagine in the roles and the location and all of that, like it's a little booklet type thing. And then it was just a matter of going around begging people to come in on it. And just, I think, but once we got the main distributor, Vision Video, in, other people trusted the project. I think that was quite an important point, that once somebody who has any power believes in the story, you're more likely to get other people believing in it, which is, in some ways it's sad, but at the same time, if you get those people on board, then you're all right, in a sense. So that was kind of the trajectory. We did have to go to a conference in America, which cost a lot of money. So we kind of used our own funds to do that. And that's where we had meetings with people, which ended up being positive, but they could have been negative. It could have been for nothing. So you do have to take a risk.
Mm. Which is difficult when it's your money that you're having to take a risk with.
Absolutely, yeah. But I think that's why you have to pick something you really, really believe in and really want to do, because then it's always worth it, even if people say no.
Yeah, and you can fight for it.
Yeah. Because if you're just half-hearted about it, then the minute somebody rejects it, you just could be like, oh, why am I doing this?
So, while doing all the pre-production stuff, like how much of that was what you yourself had to do? And then was the stuff that you had other people that were working on? You mentioned Kevin. But...
So I'm trying to remember. A lot of the scheduling is to do with how much money you're spending. So originally I wanted to make this film we shot it for £34,000, which is very, very, very low for a feature film. I think usually, the low end is 50,000, but and then you go up from there. But originally, I think it was like 150,000 that I wanted to make it for. And we actually got rejected initially because it was too much. The cost was too much. So I went away, and Kevin said, I think they might do it if it was cheaper. So I had to, these two things do actually go hand in hand. I had to figure out how to make it cheaper. And the only way of doing that was to shoot it in less time. So I kind of did a lot of sitting down and figuring out how we could just pack this story so we shot it in 12 days in the end. And that was a lot of, even before we had cast and crew, me sitting, figuring out how we would schedule it. I mean, when you get closer to production, you schedule it in a different way. But yeah, a lot of that pre-production, storyboarding, deciding on set designs that would be cheap, all of that was kind of done way ahead of time, mainly by me. I mean, Kevin did a lot of the business side of things. He's a lot better with talking to people about business sides, and I did a lot of just figuring out how to get it made, really, which is very much linked to the script as well. So a lot of it's done a lot earlier than probably normally would be in an independent production.
So I'm amazed that you managed to shoot it in 12 days. That's incredible.
Well, one thing I did some work experience on a BBC drama that taught me quite a lot about how it works, and I used to steal all of the sheets. Shouldn't say that, but with all the information on, because I wanted to learn from it. And they would shoot, so the BBC would shoot 6 to 7 pages a day, which is a lot. And I think 6 was sort of their top end. But then they had a huge team. So basically what I decided was that if we could hit that with a small team, it would work, but it was really difficult. So, I mean, when we were shooting, there was one day we shot, I think it was 7 pages, and most of the pages were in the afternoon, and there was bits where we were losing the light and we still had a scene to do. So it just becomes very stressful where you can't make mistakes or you can't miss things because you just got to shoot it all. Yeah, but we also separated it so that 6 of those days were in June and then 6 were in August. So people got a break, which I think helped, because when you're independent, a lot of the crew need to go away and work on other jobs and come back. So I think it worked better that way. I don't know if I'd do it that way again. Yeah, but 12 days is very short. But I had other people had done it. I did my research.
You knew it was possible going in.
Yeah. I mean, they hadn't done a musical with lots of locations. They'd done it in 2 locations, but still they'd done it. So there was other examples of it.
You just took it to another level.
Yep.
So can you think of any you're saying that you effectively cut your budget from what you were planning, like by a ridiculous amount.
Yeah.
So what were the sort of things that you changed to do that?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it was things like costume. So instead of having everything custom made, it was a lot of charity shop buying and figuring out the type of things that they'd wear. It was stuff like set design had to be a lot smaller, and fewer locations. So I think originally we were going for more of in the town scenes, we had, like, in my head, it was more of a city, not city, but like you have buildings that would have to be built and stuff like that. And then that's really expensive, obviously, and costs a lot of money. So I decided that's why I went more with the idea of making it like a Turkish village, or leaning more into that idea. That was what I wanted to do anyway. But it meant that the town scenes didn't have to have those buildings, because like the market scenes could just be in a field, which is very similar to a Turkish marketplace, where they've just put out tables and tents, and you didn't have to see buildings in the background, because that's often the case. So it was thinking in a different way, and thinking of ways that would come across well, but without all of the stuff around it. And then losing a lot of crew. So not having as many extra hands or help that you would like, which also makes it more stressful. But and I think some of that money in the original proposal was for a producer, to pay a producer to come on and do a lot of that side of things. But we had to get rid of that, so then Kevin and I had to co-produce, which was very stressful. Both of us are introverts, so having to deal with people and deal with questions and deal with money and deal with renting was just a nightmare for our characters.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing that I definitely struggle with, having to call people up and make sure things are happening, and
and then get calls to tell you that things aren't happening and you've got to find another way. It was really really stressful. That was the hardest part of it all, doing that side of things.
So the money that you did get, what was the source of that? Was some of that your own money, and was there other funding? What
we did in the end was, I felt really strongly that to prove to potential investors or funders that this meant a lot to me, was that we had to come up with a portion of the funds. So what I did was I split it into 3, and we took like a third. So we said, so when we went to people, we could say, well, we're putting this much in, can you match or give it? And then I think it was a good idea because I think it proved to distributors that we were serious and we weren't just wanting to be given money. And then I just worked all year to kind of make that up, and all of my earnings that year went into the film. But we split it between lots of different people. So there was some main partners who came in with chunks, and then we kind of made the rest up with other people who came in with less. Yeah. So it's kind of like a crowdfunding, but not, because it wasn't it wasn't like to the public. It was people you'd selected and pitched to.
The sort of old school way of crowdfunding.
Yeah.
So yeah, you had to change a lot of things then in the pre-production side, but was there anything during production that you had to kind of change on the fly, or anything that kind of didn't go as you planned? I mean, I imagine if you managed to shoot it in the 12 days, there wasn't much.
There wasn't allowed to be anything, but we did have one of the biggest problems with the whole film was that a lot of it is shot in a field of wheat, and it was really hard to find a farmer who would let us use their field for the amount of time we wanted it. And we found a place, Angrove Country Park near here, and they were amazing. But one of the things we didn't understand, because we know nothing about farming and how it works, was the rain had a huge impact on when they would need to harvest the wheat. So very, very close to filming, we were being told we might have to switch fields, which doesn't seem like a big issue, but when you've gone and sort of done storyboarding and checked out where things are going to be, it was quite stressful. I think in the end, we ended up with, I can't remember, did we use the same field? But that was one of the things we just had to trust kind of on the day. We might have just been put in a different place, and you just have to be constantly thinking, okay, if they move us there, then I'll do it this way and shoot from this angle. But that was probably, there was, I think there was one moment where we were shooting in the field in the middle of a scene, and Kevin told me later that the owners had come to tell us that they needed to harvest, and they just realised they couldn't and let us carry on, which was really nice. They were very, very good to us. They were really, really good to us. But yeah, I can't think of anything major. I'm really glad nothing else terrible happened, because I don't know what we would have really lost time with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, possibly lost whole scenes.
So then, rather than thinking about things that went wrong, was there any particularly just great moments that happened when just something just worked, or I don't know if there was just a great chemistry between a couple of people on set, or?
Yeah, there was the scene that I was most worried about is the scene at the end of the film where the lead character Boaz has to address a group of town elders, and it's really important because it's sort of the culmination of the story, and it determines the fate of Ruth as well. And we rehearsed it a lot, but we hadn't rehearsed it with the group of elders. We just rehearsed it with Boaz and Ami and Ami's mother, who are the three main characters in the scene. And this was the day where we were just running out of time, and I was desperate. This was such an important scene. I wanted to get it over everything else, and we were just, pushing on and on. And it was just that magical moment where we started shooting it, and there was a lot of it was hard to get it going sometimes when you're trying to get the scene started. The crew's not ready, people are trying to grab people from here, trying to get the extras in. All of that just wasn't flowing very well, and then the scene started, and it just David Ball, who plays Boaz, just absolutely smashed it, and so did the other characters. They just got the scene absolutely perfectly, and it was so special for me, because that was the scene that was really important, and it just really happened in front of my eyes. And it was like the actors were so into it that nothing that the crew or anything else that was distracting could touch them. They just kind of did it exactly as they were supposed to. So that was really exciting, because I didn't have to worry or direct too much. I just kept going, yeah, that's brilliant. And yeah, so that was a really special moment for me.
Director's dream. Don't have to just do it. You're doing great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So we haven't really talked about the music of this musical.
No.
So I don't really know much about writing music. I'm not a music person. So how was that process? Like, did the script come first? Did the songs come first?
I think I wrote a song first, or a couple, and then I decided, oh, I probably need to write a script to this. So then I went and read. How did I do it? I think I went and read about how to write a musical online.
Good place to start.
Yeah, and they were saying that like the story needs to be carried within the songs, which so a lot of the sentiment of the characters and the way they're changing is actually in the lyrics. I don't think everybody's twigged that yet, but some of the songs, if you actually look at the lyrics, it's the character is making a decision in that scene. So yeah, I did grade 6 piano, so I know a bit of music, but I didn't have the confidence that you'd think you should have to write a musical. I just wanted to write one, so I just thought, well, I'll just do it my way, and I did. I think what was nice was I started writing it in 2008, so I had a very long time to develop musically, and by the time it came to recording them, I felt more in a position of knowing what I was doing a little bit more. But obviously, I could still learn a lot. And as I said, they were very much heavily influenced by Middle Eastern, Turkish folk music, but I think they've got a nice mix where it's a bit of both. Yeah, so I don't know. It's funny. I was more worried about the film side of it than the music. I had a lot more confidence in the music.
So you took on quite a lot of roles doing this film.
I did. Don't do it, guys.
What was the traditional position, I guess, director, producer, what was the part that you preferred to do, whether that's what you thought you were going to prefer or?
Yeah, that's interesting. It's really hard because I kind of just switch into whatever gear I need to be in. I'm trying to think of the one I really enjoyed. I think I actually enjoyed the acting, weirdly, because I didn't want to be the lead role at all. The only reason I was we showed a teaser to a few select groups, and the feedback they gave was that I should play Ruth, and I think it was because they'd heard me sing the songs, and I guess because of the story, I have a real life experience of not really fitting in anywhere, which I could have brought to that. But I think, I did enjoy the acting side of it, maybe because what you've written on the page, you're actually able to perform. And I really like actors. I love rehearsing with actors and figuring things out with them. So it was nice to be in that group rather than being the one shouting. But not that I shout, but yeah, it was like being part of a team.
Yeah. Did you find it difficult switching between being actor and director?
Yeah, very much so. Mainly because I noticed that I didn't expect this, but the second I stepped in front of the camera, everybody seemed to forget I was the director. I think it's that thing of if there's nobody there to fill the role, everybody else was trying to. So what we had to do was every time we did a scene that I was in, I had to go and review the take, which ate up a lot of time, unfortunately. But it meant that I could decide whether I was happy with it, because it was hard to keep the authority while being in front of the camera. I didn't really expect that. I just didn't think it would be an issue, but I felt like I had to fight more to be director because I was acting as well. It'd be interesting. I've never really read anything. I'd love to know if other directors who act have experienced that.
Yeah.
And it was really hard to direct me. So I think
I can imagine, yeah.
Yeah, I asked other actors to sort of help me a little bit here and there. And I would ask the script supervisor what she thought of my performance, and Kevin as well. So they were kind of I would rely on them for feedback.
So what else did I want to ask? I think now we're kind of just down to you've already said don't do it regarding to taking on all the roles.
Yeah.
So if someone's watching this and is thinking of making their own feature, getting on that road, what's the sort of advice you would give to them?
I would say it's hard because I feel like you can give advice, but then it depends on what the person wants to do and how much they want to do it. But I would say, again, pick the thing that you really love, the story that you're actually passionate about. I would never do it just because you want to do it, or make a feature film because you want it to be a calling card. I think it has to be something you really, really want to do. And I would say, like, don't let people put you off. I was told by a few people that I would never make a feature film because I didn't have a good track record. I didn't have proof that I'd done anything or won anything. And I actually believed that for a long time, even though I went ahead with it. And so now looking back, it's great to see that that's not true, that you don't have to prove yourself in terms of credits or awards. You know, that film might be the thing that people see, oh, you can do it. I would say work really hard on the script. Make sure the script is really strong, because I had to redevelop it quite closer than I would have liked to shooting or getting ready for shooting, and that was really stressful. I had to just like clear everything and spend 3 weeks completely rewriting it, and it was terrifying. So I would say get all of that as good as possible before you even start looking for funding, so that you're really confident and you've had people develop it and look at it with you. And I think just start looking for good crew as well and cast. I think if you can build a team that you're comfortable with ahead of time, it makes it so much easier because you know each other. Sometimes it's hard hiring people and then trying to quickly get to know them in that time and make it work. It's just like it's not really what many people do in a job. You know, usually you get a job and then work for a while and get to know each other. But in film, you just literally like in it, trying to do something quite intimate, not knowing anybody. So I would say, like, if you can get key people who are, you know, have the same vision as you early, it really helps. I don't know, is that a good answer?
No, that sounds great.
It's really hard because like, people would give me advice, but it's only when you do it that you learn. So yeah, that's helpful.
Yeah. So it was something I wanted to ask beforehand, when we mentioned a bit about making sets and things.
Yeah.
You did a little series during that pre-production kind of time on your YouTube channel.
Yes.
So, and I remember seeing you making one of the interior sets.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of interested with that process of like, right, I've got a room. Is it just a room in your house?
Yeah, it was our office. We gave up our office for that. So that was, so originally I decided to make it, or I'd drawn a design to have like a three-sided, kind of like a theatre thing made out of wood that we would paint and turn into the set. And I had it made, and the wood was too heavy, so we couldn't move it. So the idea was that we could also use that for the outside sets, that it would just travel. But because we didn't have experience, it didn't work. And then I think it was my dad suggested, why don't you just build the set for the interiors straight into your house? So, and another friend said that styrofoam was a good option, because you can, you know, paint on it, you can carve it into shapes. I can't remember how long it took us. I think like 4 or 5 months, maybe longer, to completely turn, it was this room actually, turn all of it into a set that could be 2 different houses on the inside. And that was probably one of the most exciting aspects. My mum and dad actually did most of that, because my mum is, you know, she knows all things set design and art. So I just gave them plans and then they did it. But yeah, it was quite incredible seeing the transformation, and it was a real learning curve. So like, now I can see how you can do some cool sets with that. I wish I'd tried it earlier. in short films and stuff. I hadn't really thought of it before, but yeah, it was a really long process.
It looked really effective though. Like if I hadn't seen that little behind the scenes stuff, I'd have had no idea that wasn't actually a room somewhere.
Yeah, it's funny that quite a few people have said that, but at the same time, a lot of people didn't believe it would look like a set, like they didn't think it would work. So you have to kind of have faith in the fact that it would. And also lighting and everything. We did lighting tests to make sure it would sort of come across well. But yeah, it was quite a scary process doing that. But I was really pleased with how it came out.
Yeah, it worked really great.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, so trying to think if I think I've covered all the things I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
So I guess really, is there anything that you kind of wanted to say about the whole process that I haven't touched on?
Yeah, I think just that I kind of want to like encourage people who maybe want to do it to just go for it and not be bogged down. Like I think the film industry, even on an independent level, can be quite mean to people in the sense of those who want to do something. If you aren't, somebody, or you haven't got a short film in BAFTA, or I don't know, something like that. Even hiring crew can be difficult because crew want to see that they're in a project that's going to get somewhere. So it can be hard to find people who believe in it. I think we were really fortunate to find people that wanted to be in this and believed in it. But I would say like all the people, there's going to be loads of people you talk to who are just going to smash your dreams and say that you can't do it, or you can't do it for that amount of money, or no one will watch it. And I think it's just like believing in the story and believing in what you want to do. And I know that sounds really cliche, but I think when it's true, it makes a difference, because there's this like focus you get into of like, you don't care what anybody thinks, you just have to tell this story. And I think if you can get to that point, it doesn't matter, and you find a way to sort of push through. So I would just say ignore all the people saying you can't do it, and do it if you want to. That's my pep talk.
Excellent pep talk. So I just want to remind anyone who's watching, if they have any questions, please do put them in the chat, because I have not got enough questions apparently. So I was hoping to get the stream around an hour. So
what are we on?
About 35 minutes. So
that's pretty good. I'm trying to think of anything extra that I could add. It's really hard, like having done it, wondering what.
So we haven't talked about the post side, like editing and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, that's a good one. So if you're doing a feature film, give yourself way more time to edit. So maybe this was me just being stupid, but because I'm quite a fast editor, I put in something like, I don't know, something ridiculous like a month or two to edit. And then luckily the distributors came back and said, I think you'll need a bit more time. So we had it in more time, but I think I could have done with a lot longer. So it would have been nice to have taken, how long did it take? Now that we did I think like a year, really, just because it's more about like you need time off after shooting. So I went like straight from shooting into editing, which was just, your mind's not in the right place. So you need the time off between shooting and editing. And then you also need time away during the editing to come back to it. So because it's very exhausting. It was the loneliest period. And I think it actually, I had a bit of a depression after the film. And I think doing the editing helped that, because you're just alone with this film and you're like, is it good? Has it worked? I don't know. And then I'd show it to Kevin and he'd like it, but then you have no idea what's happening. I've never actually used an editor, so I don't know what that would be like, but I wonder if it might be healthier in some ways. Because
I guess that way, you don't have that fatigue of constantly looking at it. You just see the editor would send you, this is a version, and then you could watch that through a couple of times, and
exactly.
rather than seeing the same scene like 60 times in a row, whilst you're tweaking things, and I can imagine that
questioning whether you made the right decisions, questioning whether the story's any good. So it was intense. So I would say, like, give yourself a lot more space with that, and again, with things like with color correction, I would try and find people ahead of time. So again, like we had somebody who did a really good job, but I think we were pushing our luck in terms of we hadn't worked with anybody who color corrected. So it's good to sort of do something small with them or test with somebody before you do something big, because we kind of it ended up being one of those last minute things where we were trying to find the right person to do it, which was quite scary as well. Yeah. Oh, and a big thing I forgot to mention. So one of the reasons this film works so well is because way before we even set out to get funds for it, I met a guy called Phil Quinton, who is the sound recordist. And for some reason, he met me and he'd heard some of the music I did and some things, and he just said, I want to work with you and I'll do whatever. And when I came with the feature film, he was like, yeah, I'll be on that. And he stuck with us. And he was absolutely incredible because he's a phenomenal sound recordist, just gets on with the job, does an amazing job of it. And then when it came to the mix, he did an absolutely beautiful, so all the sound effects, all the mixing the music into the dialogue, cleaning up the dialogue, just all of that is just his handiwork, and it's fantastic. And did I go offline? Are you still there, Joolz? Might have to wait a moment.
Difficulties.
Oh, there you are.
We always have technical difficulties. Oh, there we go. I think we're back.
Yeah, you just froze, and I was like, oh no.
Yep. I think that was my internet just decided to stop for a moment. Very sorry.
No, it's fine. So like having someone like that to trust with the sound, which was such an important part, was incredible. So I'd say find an amazing sound recordist like that and just, never let them go. Yeah, it's really important. I think a lot of people overlook it.
Yeah. Sounds one of those things that you don't realize how important it is to get it done really well.
Yeah.
Until you actually hear the difference of it being done really well.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think one day when I've learned a bit more about sound and I've got better equipment or learned about borrowing equipment and things, I'll look back at some of the things I've made and just be like, oh God, that sounds horrendous. So
I think everybody does that. I can't watch some of the earlier short films I made anymore. I'm just like, no.
Oh no, we got it again.
Have we?
You're jittery. I don't know which end that's at.
Am I still jittery?
Okay, I think you're fine now. Cool.
Okay. All right. Oh.
So we'll blame my internet. It's already cut out once, definitely, before we even went live. So
yeah. Yeah.
So if anyone in the chat has any questions, do throw them out. Trying to think of other stuff. I mean, we could just kind of chat if we're out of points.
Yeah, why not? Let's talk about. Well, you decided to. So there's me.
Let's do proper plugs. So Ruth musical. It's available on Amazon Prime. It's included with Prime if you already have that, so you can just go watch it. There is a link to its Amazon page in the description, so you can go find it and watch it. I would recommend. It is a good film. I'm not that into musicals, and I genuinely enjoyed it. So.
Oh, that's really nice. Thanks, Joolz. Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, Katrina. Enjoy getting back to work.
Oh, and if you watch the film and you like the music's on Spotify. So I think it's just under Ruth the Musical original motion picture soundtrack or something pretentious like that. I wanted to say it.
Yeah. No, it is an original motion picture soundtrack. You say those words, you mean them.
Yeah. Well, we could chat about film prompt and films.
Yes.
I don't know what's the plan. What have I missed?
So at the moment we've kind of got two ongoing prompts. We've got September's, which was self-improvement versus self-destruction.
Oh.
And then we have October's, which I still haven't actually made the official announcement video for, but it was in a live stream, so I don't feel too bad about that. I do need to get that video done in the next couple of days. Yeah, so that was, there was a colon in it. It was a two-part thing. What was the first part? The second part was a monster metamorphosis, because it's fun to say. I think it's like the monster inside or something like that, or something like that. But and
when do these? So when's the deadline for these?
So the very loose deadline. So the usual deadline is about the third week of the following month. So you have like 6 or 7 weeks from when it's announced at the start of the month. So the September's one's deadline should be next week.
Right.
And whether it kind of is the deadline or not just depends on whether we've got a couple of films to talk about, and then we'll do the live stream talking about them. If we don't have any, we'll just add those on to the next live stream when we do another one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Currently no one's submitted a September one yet. Mine's in progress. I've got a load of stuff I've been sewing to make. I'm doing another little stop motion. I'm really bad at like coming up with something quick.
Yeah, but then they're so good when you do them. Stop motion's amazing. I love them. So that one was I've forgotten it already. That was the conflict one?
Self-improvement versus self-destruction. Yeah. So, yeah.
That's quite a good one. I like that. I like that prompt.
Yeah, that came out from our new taking two films and trying to come up with a prompt that would describe both of them. Little strategy.
Oh.
So we do this in the Discord around the start of the month. I'll do a random number generator between 1 and 250, and then go to the top 250 IMDb films and take those two films.
Oh wow!
And then we have to come up with a prompt for the two of them. So that came from American Beauty and The Godfather Part 2.
Oh, brilliant! Love that.
So, neither of which I've seen, but
I've seen them. Well, actually,
no.
I'm saying I've seen American Beauty, but not The Godfather.
Yeah. So my mum lent me The Godfather Part 2 because she happened to have a box set, and I didn't get around to watching it before we did that. So I just kind of I read synopsis, it's fine. I tried to get hold of American Beauty, and I just all the secondhand places can't seem to find it. So it's not on any of the streaming services.
I feel like I watched it online, but maybe not. Maybe it was on Netflix for a while. Yeah,
maybe. Couldn't find it at the time.
It's a weird film.
Yeah. Having read the synopsis, weird. So.
I do like all the imagery in it, though. I think there's a lot of imagery to do with America. So, once you know that, you keep seeing the colours everywhere. I do quite like
the bonus challenge for September as well was to include a motif from one of the two films in some way.
There we go.
So, yeah, I have not done that.
Yeah, it's just bonus. It's fine. Oh, that's cool. I need to get around to doing one. I really do.
I need to do one that doesn't take weeks of prep. I need to just come up with something like last Halloween, the prompt was, I think, my biggest fear or something. And I made a really stupid little short of me walking into a shop, which is just my living room, with a sign on my table that said sale, bargains, and a load of stuff piled on it. And then I bought some bed sheets that said they were reduced because they're possibly possessed.
I remember this one.
And then it cut to me being strangled by the bed. It was really stupid, and I shot it in 20 minutes. And I need to do more ones like that.
Yeah, you do. I really want to. I've got two little Daleks. Well, they're not that little. Yeah, that size. I really want to use the Daleks in a short film, but then I keep stopping myself because I'm like, but it's copyrighted. But it shouldn't really matter, not for this kind of thing.
Nah.
Not something I just want to put online.
Nah. And for properties like that, as long as you're not profiting from it, they really encourage a lot of fan stuff these days because it's free publicity, really.
Yeah.
So,
not that they need it, but
yeah.
Yeah, I want to do something with it. Maybe self-destruct.
So, I feel like I should reuse this guy at some point because I just keep him on my desk.
Oh, I love him.
So
absolutely love. I love the colours.
Yeah,
brightens up. See, he's just brightened up everything already.
So it's
is there
happy
only
little
one of
girl.
him?
Yeah, just the one.
Oh,
So,
he's absolutely adorable.
the stop motion I'm making for this one is not 3D. I'm doing flat things on flat backgrounds and
oh, cool. I like stuff
sort
like
of doing it like a paper cutout style, but still with fabric. So,
yeah. Oh, amazing. How long do you think it'll take you?
Well, I sat down and had a good sewing session one evening, and I did about half of the backgrounds and everything. All the pieces are cut. I just got to sew it together.
Yeah.
So I should probably just one afternoon sit down and get all that done. And then shooting, I don't think will take too long because I've planned something that repeats a lot of shots. Like so.
Clever.
Yeah, don't do extra work if you don't have to. No, it's going to be about them like falling into a rut and going through the same routine and trying to break out of that. So I can just repeat a lot of the same things in sequence. So
I can't wait to see it. I love your stop motion.
Hopefully in a couple of weeks. I was kind of hoping next week, but yeah, that might be optimistic. So
you can do it.
Yeah,
shot a feature film in 12 days.
Oh yeah, look bad now. So showing us all up.
So, we had lots of people.
Yeah. Yeah, and the only other issue is that shooting stop motion, natural light is the absolute enemy. So
is it? Because it changes all the time.
Changes between every image, and then it's really difficult to balance that. So we are coming into winter, so it is stop motion season, but I've still got to wait for the sun to go down. So
that sounds like a book or a film, stop motion season.
So yeah, I mean now it's sort of dark around 6, 7. So
do you just use photography lights to light it?
Yeah, I've got a fairly bright softbox light, and then I've got like in here I have a daylight bulb and the light and stuff. So
okay, question: how do you get around the shadow thing, or does the floodlight just not produce shadows?
As long as I've angled everything right, it's fine.
Yeah. So frustrating when that happens.
Yeah. But thankfully the area that I'm working with is sort of like about 1.5 foot, 2 foot kind of across.
Yeah.
So it's only a small area I need to get to be nice and consistent. So
yeah.
Yeah.
You should put the ones you've done with stop motion in the description box.
So yes, I will do that after. Yeah.
They're very good, everybody should watch them. Yeah. I just don't have the patience for stop motion. I really want to do it. I did it once, but I just, it takes a long time and everything goes wrong and then you have to start all over again.
Yeah.
And figures don't stand up straight. Well, yours do. Don't know how you do it.
Clay. So yeah, like this guy, he's got a wireframe inside him so that he's posable. Ooh, where's the little thing? There we go. Yeah. And it's the thing with felt, his eyes come off. There we go.
Oh no. So when you
put him
on the ground, what does he have that keeps him
So
up?
in his feet there's a block of clay on each side that the wireframe is set into.
Oh, that's amazing.
So it kind of weights his feet so he sort of stands up all right.
So did you think about that? Look at him. Did you think about that before you made it? Was that like?
Oh no, I totally winged it. It was like, right, how do I solve this problem? How do I make this work? I had no idea what I was doing.
And did you create the pattern for him, or did you find a pattern?
Yeah, I created that. Hence why it's a little bit messy.
No, it looks amazing.
So my favourite imperfection is that happened. Flag this video is inappropriate.
Yeah.
So inexperienced seamstress.
How many have you done? You've done a video with him. That's the one I like, right?
Yeah, Gingerbread House.
Yeah. So are you going to do more with him?
I might do because I still have him. He doesn't. He's just a gingerbread man. I feel like he should have a name. But...
He needs a series.
Yeah.
Just put some more stuff on you to do.
Yeah.
Series.
Maybe this Christmas I could do a sequel, and maybe it doesn't end with him getting caught by the witch. So
he could catch the witch instead.
Yeah, maybe he gets away this time.
Yeah. And I'm hoping that one day he will meet someone and have lots of little gingerbread with him because I want to see mini versions of him.
That would be great.
Or you could
I
just.
don't think I have any mini ones left. I made a load of little mini Christmas decorations that I gave to family and friends last year that were little gingerbread men. Yeah. I don't think I have any left, but
Make more.
Yeah.
Gingerbread factory.
All right. Well, I guess we should probably call it here. Yeah.
I keep saying I'm just in the north too much.
Embrace it.
Yeah, I'm trying.
I don't bring out the Welsh enough.
Is there a term that the Welsh use that's similar to that? So like,
yes. Not that comes to mind. I mean, there is like just Welsh for like yes and stuff, but I don't know if like whether anyone just uses that colloquially as an English speaker. But yeah, I do. Would it be ado in that? There's several ways to say yes due to grammar. Like, is it ado? Is it a d? Is it ois? I don't know.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I don't remember enough of high school Welsh. Right, and on that note, thank you so much for watching this, whether you watched it live or watched it back later. If you do have any questions for Jay about things, there's social media options. The YouTube should be linked below, and I'll probably stick our Twitter handles as well if you want to send any messages.
JB Musa on Twitter. I tend to be on there too much, so if you want to contact me, feel free.
And I'm at Joolz pretty much everywhere. So yeah, thanks for joining us. I hope this has been interesting. I found it interesting.
Oh, good. Thank you for having me.
And thank you for agreeing to come on. All right. Yeah, thanks. Hopefully see you in a stream soon. Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.
All right. Bye.